Hi, and welcome to the Power VPN Gateway Automation site-to-site demo. This demo will show how to connect a site-to-site IPsec gateway to your Power VS Cloud workspace from your on-prem network. For this demo, we'll be using a VPC environment to represent your on-prem environment. This demo will show 3 stages of setting up the VPN gateway server with our automation, where we use IBM Schematics to deploy the VPN automation. We'll add a Power VS server to the Power VS workspace that we're going to represent there. And we'll show a connectivity test between the on-prem that we've set up originally here and the Power VS workspace. To get to schematics, we'll use the menu button on the IBM Cloud left-hand top side and go down to schematics and then go to overview. We'll want to create a new workspace to deploy our VPN automation with. Here, we'll want to specify the address for the Power VPN Gateway Automation repository that's on IBM's organization. There's no need to provide a personal access token since this repository is public, and we don't need to download the full repository, which includes all the branches. We do, however, want to make sure that we're using Terraform 1.5 or better. We'll give the workspace a name. You can name it however you want, and you can also put it in any resource group you want. We're going to put it in our demo resource group. It also doesn't matter what location you use. Pick the one that's closest to you for your best latency. This doesn't have anything to do with where the VPN is provisioned. This is just where the automation will be run to create that deployment. Click next on that, and then click create. Schematics UI will create us a workspace and start downloading that repository so that we can run it. Okay, so Schematics has cloned down that repository for us, and it has, all of these variables in here now that we need to populate in order to tell it what we want to do. And we do give a nice description here on what you can use to populate that with. I did start off by going ahead and populating the API key. You'll need to create an API key for IBM Cloud that has the permissions needed to create all these different resources. If you need help with that, take a look in the repository for instructions. Okay, so we'll just start here by editing some of these variables. We're going to do in DAO10. That is where the Power VS workspace will be deployed, and also where the VPN will be deployed. So take note of that and make sure it matches whatever your needs are there. For the resource group name, this can be any resource group that you already have created. Okay, and then we need to give it a name. Demo-Power VS. Save that. All right, and then the client siders. So this is the on-prem side, and you want to take note of the format it says to use here. You can enter multiple siders here, so if you have multiple subnets, or if you just want to separate out some of the space, you can put that in there. So for here, we're going to use our 192.168.24 cider that we had specified earlier. And then we can close the brackets. If you needed another one, you would just do the comma and then, your next cider here, right? Save that. And same thing for the power ciders. And I would choose a cider that's larger than you're expecting to use, at least for your first subnet. That way, you can add another subnet later and it will still route through the VPN. There is a way you can add more to it later, and you could actually update the schematics and it would redeploy everything for you. But best practice here is to make sure that you have a cider that's big enough to cover whatever your use case may be and some of your future needs as well. Okay, so we got our cider in there. There are some IP spaces that you want to avoid, especially if you're using a location that's not PER enabled, Power Edge router enabled. So these IP addresses here, you want to make sure that you're staying outside those. Pre-shared key, we're just going to copy this demo, the example here for the demo. Stick that in there. We'll mark it sensitive. That just keeps it from being re-seen in the schematics here. So anybody that pulls this up, they'll see, this sensitive value stored on server instead of the actual value. And our peer address. Okay, so the peer address is the IP that we use for the gateway we have up on-prem. I have our address for that. So just put that in there, save that. And I think that's all of the required. You'll notice that a lot of these say optional on them. So all the ones down here at the bottom should all be optional. And these are just different variables that you can use if you have like an existing transit gateway, or if you have an existing power workspace. If you want to change the speeds, there's all kinds of different options that you can use down here to customize. But the main ones that you need are here at the top, these a handful of variables here. Okay, so now that we have that done, we're going to go ahead and click Apply Plan. And this will tell schematics to go ahead and start running Terraform against our variables that we've put in. Okay, our apply was successful, which means that schematics ran Terraform and created all of our resources for us. You can use schematics to go look at the resources in this tab here. But actually all we really need from this is the output for the IP of our gateway it created, so we can make our connection. So you can see all the resources and everything it created here. It took about 5 minutes for it to complete. And then you can see here that command sent successfully, and our VPN endpoint is here. So we'll need to come back to that in a second. So the automation that we were just looking at after it ran schematics, so it's got a VPC with a VPN in it. It's created that VPN connection back to our on-prem, and it created a transit gateway that ties us into our Power VS workspace. So what we need to do now is we need to put something in our Power VS workspace that we can test with, that we can connect to. So we want to create something that looks like this. We're going to do this manually. So we'll go pull the Power VS workspace up, and then we'll go over and create a subnet and a virtual server over there. So I'm going to use the resources tab here, and there's a link for Power VS workspace. And it takes us back to the resource list here. And we need to change our product to Power. And we can see that we have a demo Power VS workspace. So I'm going to click on that. It'll take us straight to our virtual server instances here. First thing we'll need to do is create a subnet, because this is an empty Power VS workspace. So click on subnets. We're going to create a subnet, demo-power-sub. We're going to give it that CIDR that we talked about earlier. It'll automatically populate our gateway and IP ranges based off of the CIDR, and we'll create that subnet. This will take a couple of seconds to create here, and there we go. We've got our subnet ready to go, and we can go ahead and create a virtual server over here. So I'll create an instance. We're going to give it a name, demo power sub. We're just making one instance. We don't really care about pinning. We want to select an SSH key, click continue. We're going to use Linux and Red Hat. Select storage tier. We're going to use the lower tier. This isn't really intensive for testing. Click continue. Machine type, we're going to use a E980. And we're just going to use a quarter of a core, shared spine. So we don't need any extra storage volumes. We do need a network interface. We don't want to do it public because we're going through the VPN. So we're going to select the network we just created, and we're going to allow it to automatically assign a IP address from that subnet. Click finish, and then agree. You can see how much it cost over here, and then click create. Okay, so our instance is being created now. Let's just refresh this. It has been created. Demo Power VS server, and there it is. It's building. So that'll take a few minutes for that to stand up. Okay, while that's going, we're going to go ahead and create our on-prem connection. So if we go back over to schematics and we look at the jobs, we can get that IP address. So we'll just grab that first. And like I said earlier, it's in the output log here. There it is, VPN endpoint. And I'm just going to copy that IP address. Now for us, since we're using the VPC to simulate our on-prem environment, we're going to go over to the VPN gateway product. and create a new connection over there. So this part will be different for you, of course. Whatever VPN gateway you use, you'll need to go configure that at this point. I'm going to use this tab here. We're going to go over to VPC and I'm going to go into my gateways, VPN gateways. And we should see two here. One will be our on-prem and one will be our Power VS. Okay, there it is. And you can see the Power VS already has a connection, but it's not active because we don't have it connected from the on-prem side. So let's do that now. Create connection. Name it demo Power VS. Our gateway peer address. And we're also going to need that pre-shared key. Remember, we use this as one of our variables. So we'll go back over to our schematics tab, to our settings, scroll down to our pre-shared key, and we use that example. So we're going to copy that. And we'll stick that in our pre-shared key here. This is our local on-prem. So 192.100.0.0, and then 10.100.0.0.24. We get our pre-share key in there. We're going to keep all of the settings to auto and defaults. Create that. Okay, now we've got our VPN connection and it's active, which means it's established and connected to the other gateway that our automation created. So if we go back and click on VPN gateways here, we can see that we have both our on-prem gateway, which we just configured, and we'll see our power gateway that the automation configured. And there they are, and both showing 1 out of 1 connections. And we've got our gateway addresses there, of course. So yeah, everything is set up now. We should be able to connect to that power machine that we created from our on-prem server. So let's go ahead and try to do that. So I've got a terminal open here from on-prem, and we'll need that IP for the power. So this is the private IP of the power instance. Copy that. I'll go back over here and see, we should be able to ping this. Yep, there it is. And yeah, we should be able to even SSH into that. So let me just do SSH, use our power key that we have here, root at our IP. Yeah, and there we go. So that shows the end-to-end connectivity from our on-prem network into power. So that's everything. And that verifies that the automation is working correctly.